Hi, welcome back to TEW Impact. We are at week one, December 2022, on our way towards the end of the year and on our way towards final resolution, the last pay-per-view of the year. Couple things I want to get out of the way before we start. First of all, as a follow-up, I think it was a follow-up to last week, uh, where I was surprised that Turning Point got like 300, almost 400 views. Turns out that was probably just a fluke of some sort. I don't know how that happened. Because last week was only about, I think last I checked, we only had like 25 views. So back to double digits, where we belong. When I was looking at the stats, I saw I had like two dislikes on Turning Point, which is at least one or two dislikes more than I normally get. Uh, I don't care really. I just think it's funny. Just all of a sudden, that show of all shows just got a sudden rush of viewers, and then we're just back to normal again. So whatever. I just kind of wanted to point that out. Also, I got some kind of shitty news at work. Nothing. Hopefully, nothing that'll impact my job. Well, at least the status of me having a job. But the end of the year is kind of a shitty time for work, and it just got shittier with this news. So, I'm hoping I know I don't have like a set schedule when I release these, but I'm hoping it's not gonna impact um the amount of videos I do. I do want to finish up the year of 2022 by the end of 2023. Um, so we have this week, 2 more weeks of impact, and then final resolution. If we can, well, I want to get to 2023, but if we can get to final resolution, I'll be happy. Um, I have there'll be one more impact for the year after final resolution, and I kind of have something special planned. Um, that might be like an end of that might factor into like end of the year general news anyway. So uh the less I say about that the better. Not like it's a big surprise or anything, but something I just kind of want to try and kind of involve the 25 or so of you that are actually watching this. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Like I said, hopefully I can get these out in a timely manner, get this wrapped up by the end of the year, and then go from there. But I don't know. It's just something shitty at work happened, and uh, at a shitty time, and it's all shitty. So, but something I hope is not shitty is this show. So we'll get into it. We'll go into the news. I don't think there's a lot of news, despite it being a new month, but not a whole lot happened elsewhere. So hopefully this will be a quick one. So let's get to it. All right, so for our numbers for last week, BTI as always zero point zero 0.01, rating 35 down from a 37. TV rating for Impact, we finally cracked that 0.36 rating. That 0.35 was our highest from probably a couple months ago. We had a 0.34 last week, and I think the week before that. And we were kind of like hovering steadily. But yeah, I guess after the fallout of a pay-per-view brought in at least enough for us to crack that 0.36 TV rating. If we can keep going, that would be cool. But slow and steady seems to be the rate of this game. Impact, the overall rating was a 45, up from a 44. I know I kind of like uh was kind of bummed at the overall rating at the end of Impact last week. I was kind of more bummed about the attendance. We dropped from 313 down from 388. And that 388 was a pretty, sizable number considering where we were and where we've been. We kind of fell back down. And we might be falling back down again because as we get to the end of the month or at the beginning of a new month, I'll skip the profit for right now, but for relating to my point, we finished fourth out of fifth again, five again in the Southeast Regional Battle, and our attendance will take a 5% hit. Like I don't know how much of a hit that really makes. Like I said, we were going from we were like at 313 ish. We were at 388. We were high almost 400s like most of the between like 350 and 400 like most of last month, and then the last week we went back down again all of a sudden. Uh but we really need to figure out a way to get our numbers higher in this regional battle. NXT is at a 65. I don't think we can reach that. But NWA is at a 59. MLW is at a 54. Impact's at a 45 and Shine's at a 44. I'm more at this point. I'm kind of more concerned about Shine jumping up ahead of us all of a sudden, um, which was a possibility because like they did rise up. They had a TV deal, they lost it. But like what I don't understand is how in the southeast are NWA and MLW doing better than us when we're doing better than them worldwide, like on an overall scale. Like we're rated sixth or seventh in the world, yet we can't beat MLW and NWA who are like below 10th. But like I think it's just a matter of having stars. NWA, they got their partnership with AEW and their alliance, so they have like Cody Rhodes now, and they have a bunch of big stars. MLW has, a fair amount of stars. A lot of them we have to. We share a lot of their talent. We just gotta uh, get some bigger stars. I think. Like we got Christian Cage, we got Chuckie T, who's over in the southeast region. Uh, and this is like another thing I kind of want to think about. Like I've thought about moving somehow, possibly to like Canada because Anthem is like based in Canada and everything. But like we've had people move to the southeast. A lot of our people are more over in the southeast than the other regions. Like Chuckie T is like at least 10 points higher in the southeast, more over than everywhere else. Jeff Jarrett is like probably like 10 to 15 points higher. Christian Cage might be a little bit higher because he was in AEW for most of that. So that's probably where we got most of his overness. So like if we moved a lot, that would probably neuter a lot of our big stars, but it would also get us into a regional battle where we would probably be uncontested, or contested by smaller, much smaller promotions. But I don't know. I think the answer to that is just shelling out some money for some big stars. That's really the answer. Who that might be, I don't know. Uh, there are some news coming down the pike that some more WWE talent, uh their contracts might be going unrenewed. So there might be some more people we pick up. I don't want to be, like real life Impact where we just get everyone else's cast offs, but if that's what we gotta do, then to bump our numbers up, then we might have to. Your numbers for money though are pretty good. We hit a new high for a month or monthly high. Our total profit for November was 110,719. We didn't invest any money like in Impact Plus or anything, so like we did last month. So we kept a lot more money. Again, probably not, 110,000 probably isn't a lot more money, but we've been making money every month, and we are almost, we started at 1 million, we're almost at 2 million in the bank. So like slowly and surely, again, like our ratings are going up, our profits going up, or at least our money on hands going up. It's just that our regional battle, our numbers are going down here and attendance and stuff like that. So if we can figure that out, whatever, we can do anything. And then for Impact News, I just put this here. It actually, has to do more with AIW, but Josh Alexander signed another one-night deal with AIW, appearing on Go for Broke, teaming with Leo Rush to defeat Dave Christ and PB Smooth via DQ. Um, We'll go to WWE news. They had actually a big weekend. They ran NXT UK Takeover and Survivor Series, but no one else really ran shows last weekend. But Isladon, I don't know how to pronounce that. I don't actually watch WWE anymore. Defeated Ivy Valkyrie. I think that's how you pronounce it. Valkyrie at NXT UK Takeover 14 to win the NXT UK Women's title, her first reign with that belt. Bobby Lashley defeated Shinsuke Nakamura at Survivor Series to win the Intercontinental title for a fourth time. And then just something I put in here, it's not major, but the 24/7 champion Sami Zayn suffered a broken foot at Survivor Series. He'll be out for a few weeks, but he pulled double duty this weekend, much like when Samoa Joe was 24/7 champion. He would, well, since Samoa Joe was on the NXT roster, he would usually get called up to like main roster for 24/7 title defenses. Sami Zayn is on the main roster, so he frequently gets called down to NXT for title defenses. So yeah, in this case, um, he wrestled the Survivor Series main event of Sami Zayn, Finn Balor, uh, Cesaro, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins with an N, defeating Brock Lesnar, Dolph Ziggler, Ricochet, and the Usos. But he also wrestled in the main event of UK Takeover the night before in a 24/7 title defense. I don't remember offhand who he defended the title against, but he was successful. He is still 24/7 champion. So yeah, just imagine main eventing a UK takeover, then having to fly in for Survivor Series, wherever that was at, main event that, and break your foot. So, Sammy definitely, carrying his weight, much like Samoa Joe did in his 24/7 title reign. And then Michael Hayes, Rampage Brown, and Ilya Dragunov extended their exclusive deals. American news for AIW, like we mentioned before, they had some news, but they've increased their production values to semi-pro, product broadcast quality to semi-pro, music level to local, and live event experience to small. MLW, Dominic Guarini extended his handshake deal, and then for GCW, the Briscoes defeated Ruckus and Chris Bay for the tag team titles for their second reign with those belts. International news, New Japan, Taiji Ishimori defeated Tiger Mask 4 to win the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title, his third reign with that belt. Tokyo Joshi Pro, Milano Collection AT accepted a handshake deal. Um, but he is retired in ring. His only roles are color commentary and road agent. Um, I would imagine, probably road agent, considering these Joshi promotions have hired some badass road agents lately. Progress, they got a new TV show on Tuesdays afternoons on Eurosport One called Progress Worldwide. They had their first episode this past Tuesday. It got a point oh 0.01 rating. Um, I don't know what the network standards are, but I know Shine was probably, I think, getting like point ones and point oh ones and point oh twos, and only lasted a few weeks. So we'll see how long this show lasts. But they did have a title change. The Hooligans of Roy and Zach Knight defeated the Corporation of Jody Fleisch and RJ Singh in a cage match in the main event of the first episode to win the tag team titles, their first reign with those belts. Retirements, like I said, not a heavy news week, but no retirements announced, but ones taken into effect. Marty Jannetty, Kaz Hayashi, Just Incredible, and Summer Rae. I think we're finally like thinning the herd. We are not getting like 10 to 20 people announcing their retirement per day anymore. So, which is probably good. So that brings us to Before the Impact. We start off with the learning tree of Avery Good and VSK actually getting a win for once, for the first time in a long time. They defeated Caleb with a K and Larry with a D. Um, this was the match that their new advisor, if you will, Dylan Postel, has set them up with, and he actually had a hand with the decision interfering in the match. So I imagine as like Dylan goes to the top rope, uh, does a splash onto Larry D, but Larry catches him, no problem. But Avery Good and VSK drop him with like a double chop block, and uh, that's enough for one of them to get the pin while the other one deals with Caleb. So uh, for once, the uh, addition of Dylan Postel seems to be working out for the time being. We'll see how that goes. All right, and then we go backstage to the True Boar Leavers, the group of the Boar and Joe Hendry and Nick Stapp CPA. Boar is kind of sitting dejected on the locker room bench, and Joe Hendry and Nick Stapp are kind of like pacing in front of him, and Joe's like, I don't know about this, Nick. Like, I trusted you to bring this guy in. We thought he was gonna, you know, we thought he could like go toe to toe with Black Taurus. He got pinned in the pay per view pre-show match last week. He loses to Steve Macklin. Like I don't know. Like I don't know if he can do it. Like what are we supposed to do with him? And Nick's like, I don't. I get it, but he's new. Needs some time to like acclimate to surroundings. Just look at him. He's an animal. He doesn't know where he's at. But and Joe's like, well, I know that, but like, I thought he was supposed to help us out, and he's just causing more losses. And Nick's just kind of like, well, and Joe's like, plus his mask is in that. Like, at least look at Black Truce's mask. That mask is awesome. His is just kind of like pretty basic. And Nick's like, yeah, but like we could make a bunch of those and sell them to kids. Won't that be cool? And Henry's like, yeah, I guess, but we gotta get wins. And Nick Stapp's like, well, maybe the problem is, maybe he doesn't have a cool catchphrase like we do. Hendry's like, what do you mean? And Stapp's like, well, you got the we believe in Joe Hendry. I got give a crap about Nick Stapp. What do we gotta do about the boar? Uh, you know, we could say we can say we boar leave, and Henry's like, no, that believing's kind of like my thing, and that kind of sounds a little too close to something else a few years ago. Like, we should get away from the boar leaving, and it's just kind of like, what can we do to get the people on board? And they both look at each other like, get on board. Yeah, that's what we need to do. Get on board. And they start chanting, get on board. And everyone just kind of like starts chanting, get on board for the boar. So hopefully this new catchphrase will help the boar's uh, chances and their all their chances all together. We also go elsewhere backstage with the enlightened Steve uh, just kind of like sulking to himself backstage when Falaba, Shara, and Singh confront him, and Steve's like, "Oh, so my flock returns," and they're like, "No, no, well, we'll get to that." But we're thinking, we went to management, we had an idea, and we're like, you know what? If you want Morrissey in your crew to follow him, don't count on us. Do it yourself. So we went to management. We got you a match with Morrissey next week. All by yourself. None of us interfering. If you want Morrissey to follow you, you got to do it yourself. But we also decided if somehow a miracle happens and you do manage to beat Morrissey, we'll come back. We'll come back to be your quote unquote flock, whatever. You know, we'll follow you again. If you can prove to us that you can beat Morrissey by yourself, we'll come back and we'll follow you, no questions asked. And Steve's like, oh, that's great, and they just kind of like walk off. They're just like, yeah, whatever. Well, let's see if you can just do it next week. figure it out then. But another match set for next week. Enlightened Steve versus W. Morrissey. And we also got a possible match where we go yet elsewhere backstage to Susan talking about talking to Rich Swan. Well, more so Rich talking to Susan, and he's just kind of like, you know what? I got an idea. I got an idea of how to like jumpstart my career, get me back in the swing of things. You got a match with the digital media champion Zhao Zia last week, and Susan's like, whoa, whoa, what are you talking about? I wasn't even here last week. And Swan's like, no, you were here. Sue, you had a match against Zhao Zia last week, a week ago here. And Susan's like, nope, I wasn't here last week. It's like, whatever. Okay, I'm not gonna argue, whatever. But you know what? I believe just you go get me a match with Zhao Zia next week for the digital media title, and that'll kickstart my career again. I can beat her. I can become digital media champion, and that'll be a fast track to getting my career back on track or whatever. That's the plan, getting Rich Swan back on track. So we might have a match next week for the digital media title, Zhao Zia versus Rich Swan of all people. And then we get the main event of Roxy defeating Quinn McKay, former stablemates, each with their respective managers at ringside. Roxy claiming Quinn McKay to be merely an announcer, while Roxy was a prodigy and a former world champion regarding how young she is. But Roxy with Roxy at ringside and Quinn McKay with Taylor Wilde at ringside. Roxy is able to interfere on Roxy's behalf, and Roxy keeps Quinn McKay down for the 3 count and the win. Uh, Overall rating of 30, which isn't bad, but you know, I think we were doing better the last couple weeks. So, yeah, that will set us up for next week on Before the Impact. So let's go to Impact. All right, so we start off Impact this week with Brian Myers versus Jonathan Gresham. Um, we talked about last week where Dylan made some matches for the Learning Tree. Wasn't just for Avery Good and VSK, but he got one for Brian Myers too. And it ended up being against Jonathan Gresham. Um, did not necessarily go well for Brian Myers. He seemed to get out grappled at every turn, and Brian Myers eventually gets frustrated, rolls out of the ring. Um, and then when Jonathan Gresham goes to confront or, goes to follow him out of the ring, Brian Myers blasts him with a chair, intentionally getting disqualified. So Jonathan Gresham gets the win, but only really because Brian Myers uh, was frustrated and disqualified himself with a chair shot. Segment rating of 39, which, Brian Myers is off his game. Gresham has a 48. Myers has a 35. That the way I've been booking Brian probably hasn't really helped. I didn't really necessarily imagine Postle at ringside. Well, I guess you can have him there, like as Brian Myers like goes off the, hits Gresham with the chair. Gresham gets announced the winner. Brian Myers is stomping off, and Postle's like following him. Is like, what the hell are you doing? What the hell was that? And just kind of like, saying like Brian, like telling Brian, like, I thought you were better than that. Like, the chair shot, come on, like, trying to, like Dylan got him this match to basically show the rest of the learning tree that Myers should be leading by example, but like, with an example like this, who knows if it's one worth following. So that might come into play later on. We'll see about that. But a segment rating of 39, decent start to the show, I guess. We go backstage. We are seeing D'Lo Brown, Impact Management representative, kind of just walking. Like has a headset on, kind of like has his head buried in like a clipboard with the format on it. It's kind of like reading it and just kind of, walking lost in his job. And he bumps into the chest of the Hikuleo, the big tall man Hikuleo, and D'Lo just kind of it's like breaks him out of his like trance or his busy work, and D'Lo's like, "Oh, sorry, big man, sorry about that." And as he turns around, the rest of the Crusade surrounds him. Uh, and Colby is just like, "You know what? We all get here to the show, and we talk about last week how we're all deserving of opportunities, and we get to the show to this week, and none of us are booked. You know, what you're I see the clipboard in your hand, I see your format, you're looking at the format, there's no room for any of us." And D'Lo's like, "I'm sorry, I maybe must have slipped my mind." And everyone's like, "Slipped your mind for us?" And D'Lo just like, "Hey, you know what, like, maybe it didn't slip my mind. Maybe the way you handled Homicide at the pay-per-view, maybe it didn't slip my mind that I didn't book any of you. Maybe you guys don't necessarily be deserved to be booked. Maybe you guys are going about all this the wrong way." And uh they all kind of like close in on him uh after, D'Lo kind of like goes off on them, but D'Lo's like, "But you know what? I guess you're right. I'm gonna be fair to everybody. Maybe that's, personal feelings getting in the way. I'm trying not to do that. I don't want to do that. I got no guarantees, but I'll try to get you guys on the show next week. You know, Somehow I'll get you guys on the show next week. I'll owe you one." And they just kind of like, and they're like surrounding him, and he like looks around. He's like, "Well, you mind letting me go do my job now?" And they just kind of split apart and let him go. And they watch him walk off, and they're just kind of like, just kind of mad that they've just kind of been slighted, at least in their view, once again. But we'll see next week, maybe, if they get booked. The Crusade, they disposed of Homicide in not necessarily the greatest of ways. So maybe that's, affecting D'Lo's judgment on getting them a spot on the show. But, who knows? Maybe they'll get on next week's show. And I'm kind of distracted because I just saw the attendance and it's even worse than last week. So we are going down because of that regional battle. But 27 for the Crusade, kind of typical for a segment of theirs. And then we get an interview. Gia Miller interviewing Killer Kelly. She talks about how Killer Kelly was the one that's been stalking Willow Nightingale in recent weeks, and they had a match. Killer Kelly beating Willow Nightingale, and Gia's kind of like, "Well, what is this thing you got against Willow?" And Kelly's like, "I don't have anything against Willow. In fact, I like her a lot." And she's just talking about like, "I've been following her for weeks, and I think she's so pretty, and I've been following her, and I've got nothing against her, but when I just wanted to get up close and personal with her, but when you get when you get in the ring with me, you'll find out what up close and personal really is." And that's what happened to Willow. And she's just kind of like being like sexy but creepy, but she's like, "I don't dislike Willow Nightingale. I like her a lot." And kind of like just overtones of, just trying to be saucy, if you will. But a segment rank of 20, losing Heat to the storyline, which kind of sucks, but uh hopefully their matches kind of make up for that. We are kind of putting them together in an effort to push them both. I'm sure Gia's relative or lack of, well, I don't want to say lag, but I'm sure her stats as an interviewer kind of pull these numbers down. Like, I like Gia Miller, but maybe we need a new interviewer. I don't know. Uh, who knows, but whatever. But yeah, Killer Kelly just kind of like, just to continue the feud with Willow Nightingale that we got going. Then in a match for the not the Super X Cup, the World X Cup. This week it is tag team matches. Uh, the winner is getting 2 points in each round, and this one is Australia versus Mexico, and Aussie Open defeating Astrolux and Commander. Kyle Fletcher pinning Astrolux with a roll up. Mark Davis was the weak link. Kyle Fletcher with the 38, Mark Davis with an 18, Commander the 28, Astrolux with a 35. Again, since we have to basically sign Aussie Open, bring them in every week on a new deal, we have to give Kyle Fletcher another gimmick. I'm pretty sure Outside Threat is the gimmick I've been giving him because it's been doing pretty good, but his deal's going to be up. We're going to have to sign him again. We're going to have to sign him the gimmick again. So that's just going to have to keep happening. But in the end, Australia defeating Mexico. 2 points for Australia, no points for Mexico. Segment rating of 32. We get a promo with Dalton Castle and the boys. I think I had this as unscripted. I thought I scripted the boys, but not Dalton Castle because the boys aren't necessarily going to speak anyway. There's a Dalton Castle promo, but the boys are there because Dalton Castle is talking about how they have their match for the Triple Impact Championship at Final Resolution against Juice Robinson and partners of his choosing. He's like, you had to come out last week during my boys' match against Power and Finesse, cost them the match, make them look bad, make me look bad before our match. Now, I don't know what plans you have. I don't know if Power and Finesse are gonna be your guys, but if they are, we're gonna be ready for them, and we're gonna be ready for you at Final Resolution. Basically, just I have this as self promo, but it's to hype up the match at Final Resolution to determine who is the first Triple Impact champion. Segment rank 28. That doesn't do great. Mostly due to the boys, less so with Dalton Castle. I probably could have just done this as Dalton Castle, but considering the boys are involved in the match, I had them there too. Then we go elsewhere backstage where Juice talks to Power and Finesse, and he's like, you know what? When you went out to to the ring last week during your guys' match, I did it mostly to screw with Dalton and his boys. But I saw you guys out there, and I think you guys got promise. You guys, Chris, you've been a former X Division champion, but like lately, like both you and Will Hobbs have been screwed out of X title shots. Uh, you were screwed out of spots in the World X Cup, but you know what? I think you guys have a shot at if you join me. I know you guys can take on the boys. I might probably be able to take care of Dalton Castle, but I think together, the three of us, we have a real shot. But I won't know for sure until we have a warm up match. So next week, you guys join me. If we'll have a warm up match next week on Impact. If we gel, if this team works out, we can go on to Final Resolution. We can beat Dalton Castle and the boys. We can put our names in the history books as the first ever Triple Impact champions. How does that sound? That sounds better than, former X Division champion. That sounds better than, World X Cup teammate. You'll get to be first ever champions, and they're just kind of looking at each other like, yeah, that does sound pretty good. So, we'll team with you next week. If we can gel, if we can work it out, I think we're in. And Juice is like, yeah, and it was like, they just kind of like stoked that he might have possibly found his partners for Final Resolution. Sigma Ray 34 did a little better than the Dalton Castle promo, so good for that. And then we go yet elsewhere backstage. This time it's the Inspiration, and they're talking amongst each other, and they're just been dejected. They're like, we lost to those BFFs. They're the Knockouts Tag Team Champions. We lost to them fair and square. in that four-way. It's probably going to be a while till we can consider ourselves like true contenders again. We're going to have to work our way back up from the bottom. Till then, I guess, what can we really do right now? They're just kind of like wondering about their future, and Jesse's like, well, we could go back home, we could regroup, but you know what? We're the inspiration. And, I don't necessarily feel really inspired now, but maybe we need to go out and do some inspiring of our own. Maybe, we can go out, look for the next knockouts tag team champion, or maybe the next knockouts champion. Maybe we need to look toward the future. Maybe we need to inspire someone else. And you know what? Maybe we do need to go back home. But if we go back home, maybe we can look at the talent over there. Maybe we can, Australia. We have a team Australia in World X Cup now. There's got to be some talent in Australia. We can go inspire them, bring them back, teach them the ways of the inspiration, teach them to be, the future champions of, whatever they may be. And they're just kind of like pepping themselves up. It's like, yeah, like we can do that. We're the inspiration. We can inspire again. And that seems to be what, their plan must be vague, but that seems to be their plan for the future, to inspire someone else into succeeding. So we'll see how that goes. But segment rank 40, that's pretty good for them. I'm not necessarily planning on using them regularly. Uh, I don't want to say I'm writing them off, but they won't. It's not like they'll be a weekly thing. Kind of going to be like the Knockouts tag team. Like I kind of mean when I say like the BFFs kind of like defeated everybody. There's not necessarily teams that can beat them. So the tag division is kind of maybe getting restructured a little bit. They're probably going to be taking more of a back seat, and like I said, kind of maybe cultivating the future, or any people we decide to bring in. So yeah, uh, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, segment rank 40, like I said, did pretty well. And then we get Rosemary versus Tasha Steeles, made last week when both women wanted a rematch for the Knockouts title that was won by Bianca Belair at Turning Point. Rosemary having taken the pin. Tasha making a good point for herself, saying that she wasn't pinned, but she also had pinned Rosemary in a previous match. She pins Rosemary again to, for sure, win the next title shot. Tasha Steeles defeating Rosemary, the former champion of all people. Segment rating of 36 and doing it pretty clean too. I think I might have had Mercedes at ringside, but not necessarily. Yeah, she was at ringside, but yeah, she didn't. It wasn't by cheating or anything. I think it might have been like a flash roll up. No, it was just a regular pinfall. So yeah, we did try to keep her strong though. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, both had a in ring of 38, which is pretty good. So yeah, Tasha Steele's the new number one contender for the Knockouts title, in possibly somewhat of an upset, but this is what Tasha's been wanting. And we've been wanting Tasha to step up and see if she can hang with, the, you know, we she pinned a former champion. Is she gonna be able to pin a current champion? We'll find out about that. But yeah, segment rating of 36. So uh, yeah, Tasha Steele's the next number one contender. And after the match, we get more or less a celebration. Like Tasha Steeles and Mercedes Martinez are celebrating their win in the or Tasha's win in the ring. Uh, Rosemary is rolls out of the ring dejected. Bianca Belair, the Knockouts champion, steps out. She's at the top of the ramp and she's kind of like applauding but like eyeing Tasha, basically like saying like you're next, you got the next shot, or are you ready to step up, try to take this from me? And Tasha's like jaw jacking, as she tends to do, and she's like, yeah, I'm ready to take that belt from you. Meanwhile, like Rosemary's walking up the ramp, and Bianca kind of gives her a look, and Rosemary kind of gives her a look, and then Rosemary just kind of like shoulder checks her way on by and just slinks back to the back. So Rosemary not the happiest, you know. She lost her title at the pay-per-view. Now she lost a possible title shot. So things aren't going the greatest for her. Segment rating of 39 for that. And then we go elsewhere backstage where we see D'Lo Brown once again, talking. He's got his format, he's got his headset, but he's talking to Mance Warner and Danhausen, and they're just kind of like just conversing. You don't know necessarily what they're saying. Uh, but eventually Chuckie T walks by and D'Lo Brown stops. Like, hey, Chuckie, wait, you're just the guy we've been wanting to see. And Chuckie T's like, great, I don't want to deal with you losers. Like, man's Danhausen, I told you, I'm done. Like, I've beaten you both. Whatever. Like, just leave me alone. Like D'Lo's like, well, I'm sorry, but like, they've been talking to me about making a possible match for a pay-per-view, and I think they got a good idea. You said last week you can beat them both by yourself. So what they want to do, they want to have a handicap match against you to see if you can prove it. If you can beat both of them by yourself. Me, I'm willing to be fair. I'm willing to make this a tag match. If you want to go out and get yourself a partner and we can just have a straight up tag match, you know, that's cool too. And Chucky like breaks him off. It's like, no, no, like I don't have partners anymore, and I don't need friends anymore. When I said I could beat these two losers by myself, I meant it, and that's exactly what I'm gonna do. You can make this match. I'll sign the papers right now. Let's make this match, and it'll be a handicap match. I won't need a partner to beat both of these nerds. And man, it's like, oh yeah, I'm a nerd. You didn't think you could beat me? And Danhausen's like, I got my briefcase, man. And Chucky T's like, see, look at you guys. You guys are nerds. I'm gonna have no problem beating you. And D'Lo's like, well, I figured I'd give you the option. I figured out of fairness, I didn't want to necessarily put you in a handicap match, but if that's what you guys want, that's fine with me. But the offer still stands. If you want a tag partner, you can go get one, but it sounds like you're not going to. So let's just make the match. Let's just, get the paperwork done right now. So it looks like a new match for Final Resolution has been made. Mance Warner and Danhausen versus Chuckie T. Maybe a tag match. The option's still open, but it sounds like Chuckie T is not going to take it. So segment rating of 45 for that. Chuckie T coming across well. So again, this is why we have Chuckie T as over as he is um talking. And then we have another World X Cup match, another World X Cup tag team match. Team Canada versus Team USA. La Tabernacle or TDT. We'll just say we can't say that name on Canadian television. Versus Rep 419. Rep 419, excuse me, defeating TDT, and of all people, Sam Beal pinning Matteo St. Jacques. So uh, we haven't seen TDT in the ring yet. I don't think. No, because we did have Aussie Open on before the Impact, but we didn't have Tabernacle Team. So uh, they are like Aussie Open and TDT are both 100 experienced teams, but their popularity in our regions are non-existent. So I was wondering how well they would do. And I figured giving Sam Beal the win over here wouldn't necessarily hurt them because they're so new, and it wouldn't, hurt for them to be beaten or have them beat a team with low popularity, no matter how high their experience is. But 30-29 for TDT, 33-42 for Team America. Uh, and yeah, it looks like we got 2 points for America, 2 points for Australia, segment rating of 38. And I think, yep, this is basically a celebration match, so or a celebration post match. So basically, Rep 419 runs out, and has a celebration with Swerve and Willie Mack, the rest of Team USA, uh, to celebrate their win and their basically runaway lead. I'm probably going to put the post match graphic here, but I think this puts USA at 5, Australia at 3 points, uh, Mexico at 2 points, and Canada with no points. If I'm wrong, trust the match graphic, but I looked at it earlier and I think that's what it is. Segment rating of 40 for the post match celebration, which is good, and mostly to get Swerve on the show because we need his overness and charisma. And I think I did have that as like a all charisma segment. But then we go backstage. Petey Williams and Mike Bailey watching the monitor and seeing their team having lost, and Petey is just like blowing up. It's like I can't believe it. Like I can't believe these guys lost. I can't believe it. We're sitting at the bottom of the rankings. We haven't won a match yet. And Mike's like, well, maybe if we were out there cheering them on, maybe they would have won. Maybe they would have, with some positive reinforcement, they would have, tried harder. Look at uh Team USA, they're out there celebrating, and PD's like, "Are you telling me how to run this team? Are you?" And Bailey's like, "No, I." And PD's basically like, "Know your place. You're the ringer. You're the lieutenant. I signed you for a reason, but that is not to tell me how to run my team." But and Bailey's just like, "You know what? I'm just saying though, if we were out there cheering them on, we would have had a chance. If we just need to know how to work together." And PD's like, "Well, yeah, I know. I guess we do need to learn how to work together because I just got word that next week's matches are tag matches. The team's captains and lieutenants are going to be partners. So next week, we got to be partners. And if we have any chance of staying in this tournament, I guess we got to learn how to work together." So, and then like he drops the axes, like, "So step in line and know your role. Don't tell me how to do my job." And Bailey's like, I wouldn't dream of doing that." So uh, it's revealed that next week's X Cup matches are tag matches with the captains and the seconds facing each other. So it'll be interesting to see if PD and Mike Bailey can coexist. Uh, but segment rating 31, losing heat for the storyline, which I don't think the storyline had much heat to begin with, so I don't know why it's losing. But yeah. Uh, basically them arguing, but realizing that they're gonna have to, if Team Canada is gonna have any chance of coming back from, not having any points at this point, they're gonna have to work together. So segment rating 31 for that. And then we go backstage, but this is mostly Gail Kim walking towards the ring. She is wearing her special guest referee outfit. So it said that the match between Mickie James and Maria Kanellis, with her as the guest referee, is next. But before she can make it out to the ring, she's confronted by the BFFs, the Knockouts Tag Team Champions, Deonna Purrazzo and Chelsea Green. And they just kind of like get in Gail's way, and they're just like, "I don't know if you heard, but we're still tag team champions." And from our vantage point, it doesn't seem to be any sort of competition left in Impact as far as the tag team champions go. So, you know what? I think you should go ahead and just, proclaim us the forever tag team champions. You might as well retire these belts while we're at it because we're gonna hold them forever. And Gail's like, I don't know if you guys have been paying attention, but I got a job to do right now. I got to go referee a match. And even if I didn't have to referee a match, I would do no such thing as retiring those titles and just letting you have them forever. You know, I got stuff to do right now, but I'll be sure to get you guys some competition in the near future. So, and if you'll excuse me, and she just kind of butts her way between them and keeps walking towards the ring. Uh, the BFF's not appreciating being rebuffed by Gail Kim like this, but Gail has bigger fish to fry. Segment rating of 40, not bad, but we'll see how this match goes. Mickie James versus Maria Kanellis in Maria's quote unquote uh, retirement match. Mickie James defeating Maria in 10:27 by pinfall with a Mickey DT. Uh, Gail Kim as referee, just to keep the peace, make sure that Maria or Michael Bennett don't try anything. Michael Bennett and Nick Aldis are at ringside. I don't have them interfering, but I basically have them like I have them both at ringside. So basically, imagine like Michael Bennett goes to interfere, is stopped by Nick Aldis. They start brawling, and Gail Kim ejects them both from the ring. So they're out, and then it's just Mickie James one on one with Maria, and Mickey or Maria not necessarily being a full time wrestler, and having gotten out of that match, that mixed tag match at a turning point by cheating, isn't quite able to do that now. So Mickie James gets the win, retiring Maria Kanellis. Segment ring of 33. I didn't imagine this doing great considering Maria's not necessary. She is a full time wrestler, but she doesn't wrestle, and now she's not going to. Mickie James, we hadn't used most of the year, but Mickie with a 35, Maria with a 27, that's to be expected. Storyline losing Heat, but this isn't going to be the end because it's basically going to be carried on by Nick Aldis and Michael Bennett. But the end of the match, we have, you know, Mickie pins Maria. She goes to celebrate. Sure, her hand is lifted up by Gail Kim. And then the Knockouts Tag Team Champions, the BFFs, they come out. They basically toss Gail out of the ring and start stomping down Mickie James, down to the mat. Basically a 2-on-1. Um, I have this as unscripted. So Deanna did well, but Chelsea did not. But this isn't necessarily a segment where they improvise dialogue. This is basically the BFFs coming out. They, like I said, they throw out Gail Kim. They 2-on-1 Mickie James, and as Maria recovers from being defeated, she, gets back up to her feet. Deanna and Chelsea both have Mickie James held up, and they're just like, "Do it, you know what to do." Like, you're not going out like this. You're not retiring like this. Finish Mickie James. Finish it. And Maria just like looks at it. Like the BFFs have kind of been like ancillary members of Maria Kanellis, but haven't necessarily had anything to do with them lately. So they've just kind of been, I guess, loose associates. But this is them kind of, saying, Maria, you're not retiring like this. You're not going out on your back. Do with Mickie James what you will. You have her. And Maria is just kind of looking at them both and basically just like, you guys don't understand. Both of you get out now. And just serious, more serious than she's ever been. And she's like, you don't understand. Just drop her and leave. And the BFFs are like, what are you talking about? And she's like, leave. You two now. Leave. And they're just like, okay, whatever you want. And they just roll out. And Mickey's basically Mickey's coming to from that 2-on-1 beatdown, and like she's like, "What did you do that for?" And Maria basically raises Mickey James's hand, and then like Gail Kim comes back into the ring and raises both of their hands, and so basically this is kind of like I wouldn't say this is a full on face turn, but this is like Maria's official retirement, and I know she's only probably really retiring from wrestling. She'll probably still be with us as a manager or of some sort of role, but in case she's not, this is kind of a way to write her off. Just kind of like bury the hatchet with Mickey James. Uh, but like I said, this is not a full face turn. It probably would be, in execution, but there's always a chance for her to come back. This is kind of like her going out the right way, if you will. But yeah, Maria kind of, like I said, bearing the hatchet with Mickey James and Gail Kim, kind of denouncing the BFFs and their interference. But I guess Maria wanting to go out on good terms. Like I said, the storyline's still going to keep going, but more so with the guys. Um, but yeah, and I believe Maria retires like tomorrow. uh, I originally intended for the pay per view to be like her retirement, but when I realized like she still had a couple weeks left till she actually retired, I'm like, well, we could probably bump this out a little bit more and have Mickey James get the win. Get Mickey back into rotation while Maria kind of goes out, and then maybe, do something between Mickey and the BFFs if possible. But yeah, Maria kind of going out, not with a win, but kind of with, regaining some sort of respect, I guess. So, segment rating of 35. Like I said, the improvising didn't do well for Chelsea, but it did for Deanna. So, not a great rating, but, kind of expected, I guess. We go backstage. We see, I don't necessarily how I have this planned out, but I guess uh, Rhino and Heath are backstage and they're, the guns roll up on them and they're just kind of like, you know what? You guys got your match. We got your apology. I know, you guys got what you wanted. You got your match set in stone. But you know what? I think we need a little preview. So how about next week? Alex Shelley and Rhino. It's like we already saw Heath and Sabin a couple weeks ago. Well, we know how that turned out. Rhino, if you think you can hang with the guns, how about you and Alex? You guys go at it next week. We get a little preview of what's going to happen at Final Resolution. And Rhino and Heath were like, "Yeah, we'll take you up on that. We're ready. We're gonna, we're gonna set our minds to it. We're gonna be the next World Tag Team Champions, and if that gets Rhino more hyped up to win the titles, whatever." Like I said, I don't necessarily have this planned out, but we're setting up Alex Shelley versus Rhino in a singles match next week on Impact. Segment rating of 41. Storyline advancing with the segment. And then we go back, I think, elsewhere, yet elsewhere backstage. We're always backstage somewhere. It's a angle heavy show, like it always tends to be. Uh, but I think we have just Eddie Edwards just walking around when he's called out by Ace Austin, just kind of taunted from afar, and Eddie goes to charge and run at Ace Austin, but ends up running into like a clothesline from Lance Archer, and that basically results in a 2-on-1 backstage. So, uh, with Eddie having poked his nose into Austin and Archer's business last week, uh, this is, I guess, their payback. So we get a 2-on-1 beat down backstage. More so Archer beating down Edwards while Ace insults Eddie, but probably gets him some licks in as well. But 45 for that, which is pretty good. Ace Austin. I'm kind of experimenting with what segments are considered off script or what ones are scripted and ones are not. If like dialogue heavy segments are usually scripted unless I know the people doing them can go off script. But like beat down like physical segments like this, I'm trying to see if they go as well unscripted. This one seems to do pretty well. So at least with Austin. So but like I said, Austin leading Eddie Edwards into a beatdown from Lance Archer, 2-on-1, not doing leaving Eddie basically, lifeless. Uh segment rating 45, which did well. Then I believe this is our main event of the evening. Josh Alexander versus Jake something. Um basically gets thrown out. It seems to be a great match. 46. Josh Alexander with a 57, Jake something with a 44. I guess, Alexander kind of wanted a warm up match for his world title shot at Final Resolution and went to Jake something and got a match. So kind of like two of our top baby faces going at it. Um, but after 13 minutes, it just basically gets thrown out when Brody King just wrecks mostly Jake something, but basically like imagine them both like tied up or in some sort of move, and Brody King just runs in and just clocks them both with like a double clothesline or something. Basically, just ruins the main event. We get no winner. It gets thrown out. It's mostly Brody King brawling with Jake something, but segment rating of 46. But basically, Brody and Jake something kind of like brawl their way to the back, leaving Alexander in the ring. Eventually, he rolls out of the ring and gets a microphone, and he's like, you know what? And he kind of talks about how, like, kind of like I just mentioned, he's like, I just wanted a good, clean match. I just wanted to warm up, see if I still had what it takes to go against, go after my world title again. And, look, it gets ruined by Brody King. I don't want that sort of thing to happen in our match, Christian. And I'm speaking to you, Christian, because I want to make sure this goes off without a hitch. No shenanigans, no trickery. 1-on-1, clean fight. I want my title back, and I know you're gonna do whatever it takes to keep it. But what I want is I want Jeff Jarrett at ringside as a special enforcer just to make sure nothing goes down. If you try, doing anything, someone's gonna be, he'll be there to keep things fair, keep things 1-on-1. So what I'm saying is, the match is on, but I'm just saying, I'm asking you, I want Jeff Jarrett as the special ring enforcer at ringside. And basically, Christian Cage comes out with a microphone of his own, just goes, go fuck yourself. Okay, he doesn't say go fuck yourself, but he just comes out and says, no, and just walks to the back. So, and Josh is like, come on. He's like, yeah, I got to deal with Christian Cage, but he's just like bummed that Christian just came out and just denied his request and went to the back. But that's how we end the show. 52 rating for that. Gained heat, but somehow Christian Cage did not do well without a script, which I kind of call bullshit on that. Um, but yeah, I figured like I did this unscripted, and I figured Christian Cage would be good enough to follow it, or do it unscripted, and apparently not. But that doesn't seem right. But yeah, we end the show with a request. Like Josh Alexander wants Jeff Jarrett as the special ringside enforcer, and Christian just says no. And that's how we end the show. So we got the title match, but Christians doesn't want Jeff Jarrett at ringside. He doesn't want any part of it. His overall rating of 46, pretty good, pretty standard for what we've been doing, increasing our popularity in 41 regions. As long as we're not losing popularity, that's all I care about. Uh, let's see. 45 was the angle for Danhausen. Yeah. Josh Alexander and Jake Something was a 46, and then the post match angle was a 52. So those are, we had some solid, the inspiration doing well for us. That Chuckie T segment with Danhausen and Mance Warner doing well. Uh, so we got some decent numbers in here. And yeah, I think if we can carry this to final resolution, we'll be in a good spot for the end of the year. So yeah, like I said, we got for next week we have Alex Shelley versus Rhino. We're gonna have matches for the World X Cup where it's tag matches where the captain and lieutenants are the teams. So we'll have that next week. We have the Juice Robinson and Power Finesse, seeing if they can, work out as a unit, as they could possibly be going for the Triple Impact Championship. And yeah, uh, Tasha Steelz becoming number one contender for the Knockouts title is pretty big. Maria Kanellis kind of having a change of heart as she retires. Um, and we'll probably have news from that to see where she stands after retirement. Like I said, she's probably just going to retire as a wrestler, but stay on as a manager. But if not, this is kind of like the way to write her off temporarily. Uh, the future of Maria Canal LC, the group may be in doubt, but that's something we'll have to work on later on. Just stay tuned. Like I said, we're on the road to final resolution. We got 2 more shows till then. And yeah, come back. Thanks for watching this show. Thanks for watching any show. All 25 views of you. We're double digits. We're back where we belong. So yeah, those of you that are still out there watching, thanks. And hopefully I'll see you on the next one.